What's going on, guys? I have a super cool video for you today. So in a couple minutes, I have someone pretty special coming over. This is someone who has networked with people with billion-dollar net worths, with tons of different celebrities, and has grown businesses from those networks. So we have a pretty cool video coming for you. Just wanted to intro this real quick. So let's jump into the conversation. What's going on, guys? Today I'm here with someone pretty special. His name is Brett. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself real quick.
We're best friends. Knutson. Brett Knutson.
Brett, what do you do? Will you introduce yourself to everyone, what you have done? Because I know there's a lot, we might not be able to fit it in the intro, but just your background, what you do,
Sure.
what you have done.
So I originally started a social network called Hive, and Hive was kind of my first big thing, and we ended up raising a bunch of money from the co-founder of EA Games, who's our lead investor. And we ended up working with a bunch of celebrities and influencers to promote that. And then after 5 years of running that, about a year ago, I stepped away and started a marketing agency with the founding team of Shipt, which sold to Target, and the founder of FitTea.
Okay, so if you guys can't tell from that intro, you must know a lot of people. And that's what we're gonna be talking about today, is networking. So you obviously know how to network. I feel like you know pretty much everyone, celebrities, investors, and I'm sure there's tons I don't even know about. And you seem like that is one of the leading ways you found success, is with networking. So
100%.
let's talk about that today, and kind of how did you get started networking, and how can, any advice you have for them, how can they get started?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is I always try to lead with value, right? So it's just respecting people, not necessarily being like a fan, right? So you always want to feel like you're a peer to them, so making sure you're not taking photos with anybody that you meet or asking for autographs or doing anything that's going to degrade you to a fan instead of a peer. But always leading with value and trying to rack your brain when you meet somebody of how you can help them. And so I think that in general in society, the average person is trying to see what they can take as soon as they meet somebody. What can I take from this person? And so if you can lead with value, that's going to put you above average. But one step beyond that would be adding value repeatedly and not expecting anything in return, which really sets you apart. But what nobody does is adding value repeatedly, not expecting anything in return, and then when you're offered something in return, because all high quality people want to reciprocate the value, when you're offered something in return, using that as an opportunity to actually recycle the value and give that value to somebody else in your network who needs it as much or more than you, where you know that you're now creating a new friendship, a new relationship that can be mutually beneficial, and you can become kind of like a go-to for people that need help. And that's a really great place to be if you're trying to establish yourself in a network.
Okay, so recycling that value. So let's say if I said, hey Brett, let's make a video, you'd say, okay, maybe bring in someone else for that video, or
it would be more just like as we got to know each other, figuring out what you did, and then trying to figure out how I can help you, especially if I'm ever going to ask for anything from you, right? So instead of just being like, hey, we should do this, it's, hey, you know, this is something that I can offer, and would you be interested in doing this in exchange or whatever. But the most important thing is just always, you have to train yourself to think that way, of like, how can I help this person before you even meet them? If it's someone important and you know enough about them, how can I help them so that I can tell them how I can help them when I meet them? So in the example of someone really successful, you might be able to do some research ahead of time and get to know them a little bit and figure out what their needs might be, and then try and provide a solution, whether it's making an introduction that you know could really help them, or it's, you know, offering some sort of service that you can provide.
Okay, and I assume this gets easier to do once you start building your actual network, because you have more to pull from. A lot easier. But so what would you say to those who say, well, I'm just starting, I don't really have much value yet?
So what I like to do is something called reverse engineering warm networks. So this is something that's only recently really available, and it's where, if you've ever heard of like the term 6 degrees of separation, where supposedly you're only 6 people away, 6 like connections away from anybody in the world, whether that's, you know, Bill Gates or it's some laborer in a third world country. You're only 6 connections away. And so you can actually see those 6 degrees, those 6 connections now, because most people only follow on social media the people that they know, like, and trust. So say you want to get to know some big celebrity or some big investor. If they have, for example, an Instagram, you can go to their Instagram, see who they're following, and then find someone who's a little bit more accessible. and then go to that person's profile. Now here's the catch though. Say you find like their sister, and maybe their sister has hardly any following. Well, that person's used to getting hit up by people who think they're clever. So you can't go straight to the bottom and find the least followed person, because they're probably used to getting bombarded and they know exactly what you want, and that actually makes you look worse. So you would just go down, find someone who's a little bit more accessible but still out of your reach. Then go into their network and find someone who's a little bit more accessible but maybe still out of your reach, and then go into their network. And this takes a while, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're trying to build a relationship with an A-list celebrity or with a really, really affluent person, you're going to have to, and especially if you're starting from nothing. Like I came from a township of 600 people in rural Minnesota, so I didn't know anybody. Mm-hmm. And so you have to start lower, right? So like I started with small influencers that were connected through 5 or 6 degrees to the big influencers we wanted to work with for Hive. And I slowly leveraged other people's names and relationships and built friendships and added value all the way back up through the chain to where I was working with some of the biggest people.
Can you mention any names that they might know, or is that not?
Yeah, I mean, so if you look, like for example, on my Instagram, we share a lot of the people that we've worked with. And
what's your Instagram?
At Knutson, Knutson. So you can go on my highlights and you can see some of the celebrities and stuff that we've worked with. Not all of them are on there, but a lot of the people that we worked with were all kind of strategically placed to help get me in rooms with really, really big powerhouses, and people who are, you know, making really big splashes and stuff.
So that's probably the biggest kind of tactic you've used over the years to grow and network?
Well, so it's kind of in tandem. It's both of those things together. So I would say it's reverse engineering warm networks, whether it's through LinkedIn or it's through Instagram. Instagram, I think, is the best, because on LinkedIn, most people will connect with anybody, but on Instagram, people really reserve that for their friends. Mm-hmm. Facebook is, a lot of celebrities don't have a personal Facebook, so it kind of doesn't apply. So Instagram's the best if they have an Instagram, but then just reverse engineering who their friends are to get to them eventually, and then making sure that as you're working your way up that ladder, you're adding value first, you're adding value repeatedly, you're not expecting anything in return, and eventually you'll get there. And you know, for us, what we ended up having to do is we threw a huge party, and we had 600 influencers there, and we had like 5 of like this particular person's like closest friends. Mm-hmm. And that person showed up, right? Because it's all strategic positioning. So it's just making sure that if you're in the circles, if you can get yourself into the circles of the people that you want to be around, eventually you'll be around those people. And as long as you don't screw it up, you know, if you can add value first, and if you can treat them like a peer, not a fan. I have so many phone numbers and friendships and so few photos with famous people. And that's intentional, because unless somebody else asks for the photo, I am never going to be the one to ask for a photo. So just making sure that you're treating them with respect, treating them like a human being, mm-hmm. and you should go really far.
That's crazy. I've never heard the 6 degrees of separation and seeing like how that works. I've never heard anyone talk about it, or even that idea in general. And it's crazy that you've done it and it works, and it just seems like a theory in my head, but for you, it's what you do. So
I didn't know crazy. If it would work when I first started
yeah.
it. And that's the important thing, is like it did seem like a theory, but I figured it was worth a shot, and it ended up working. It takes a while, especially if you're coming from nothing. I came from nothing, so it took me like a couple years, but it works.
It's well worth it now, I bet.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. So you just started your YouTube channel. What is it? It'll be in the description. So what is it? Just so they can go
it's youtube.com/Brett Knutson, and we just talk about business, finance, personal finance, entrepreneurship, startups, online businesses, and everything. So thank you so much for having me. And
do you have anything else you want them to check out? Any courses, any links?
I don't. Honestly, the YouTube channel would help me more than anything. If you guys are willing to go and check out the content, if you like it, please subscribe. It'd mean a lot to me. So
if you guys watch my videos and like me, you're going to like him. It's the same kind of content. It's straight to the point. It's value. So make sure, go check him out. Thanks you
so much, man,
for coming on. I appreciate it, coming out here. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure, leave a like. Go check out Brett the Canoe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.